Occasionally in pop culture, we get excited for a new franchise. Something gets adapted, and we hope to see many more of it. And sometimes it goes horribly wrong. Today on Dead Arrival, it's all about Hellboy. Stay tuned to find out why the man from hell is already going back.
If you love movies and you love talking about them, make sure you hit that subscribe button and become part of our notification squad by hitting the bell. And if you dig our content, make sure you give the video a like.
Mike Mignola created Hellboy at Dark Horse Comics and gave us one of the most interesting characters, a supernatural detective destined to one day destroy the world. Hellboy had this sort of infusion of beautiful pop culture art with a sort of melancholy design where at each point we knew Hellboy one day would end the world, and he lived in a world of Lovecraftian monsters, Catholicism, and so much more. It was soulful, it was fun, it was adapted in 2004 into a movie by Guillermo del Toro. Great films, from 2004 to the Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, and sadly after that we had a problem. Hellboy 3 went straight to development hell. Its original scriptwriter was going to be Del Toro, Mignola, and a guy named Adam Crace. I forget his name, but anyway, that guy actually kept the bulk of the story, and he and Mike Mignola helped push out Del Toro, and we now have this reboot of Hellboy. Now, it makes sense to reboot Hellboy because the original movies weren't that close to the source material. A lot of changes were made, and at times it would be quite annoying if you're a comic fan to see some of it deviate so much. Hellboy's story itself is actually radically different in the movies in some ways. Abe Sapien, completely different between the movies. Abe Sapien's actually more of a Victorian monster scientist than a lovely human being like he is in the Del Toro films. But what we get with the new movie is something very interesting. It's crap. And not just crap, my friends. It's something has gone horribly wrong. What we get is a hard R film for a franchise that didn't need a hard R. We've got monsters, huge, hulking monsters towards the end that actually mean absolutely nothing because we're told Hellboy's going to bring it into the world, and it doesn't matter because we know it's going to be okay at the end. We have world building for a franchise that didn't make enough money in its opening, and once again, he suffers the humiliation of being dead before it even gets out the door. What killed this Hellboy? Well, firstly, let's talk about Hellboy himself. When we think of Hellboy, we all think of Ron Perlman. He was fun, he didn't take the situation too serious. We all remember his nonchalant attitude to saving the day. We knew he was down to earth, he loved kittens, and there was a lot of details about the character that were quite quirky. He loved Baby Ruth chocolate bars, he drank beer, he smoked cigars. This Hellboy straight out the bat seems to be wallowing in his own misery. David Arbor does his best to try and make the character interesting, but there's no dimensions to Hellboy. He's just there to react to every plot point and keep moving. In fact, a good 80% of this movie is exposition towards Hellboy, reminding him he's going to end the world. For example, when he gets to Uriah's club, we get told he's going to end the world, and they're aware of it. Then after that, when he meets his old childhood friend, she reminds him he's going to end the world. Then later, when we go back to the British Command Center from BPRD, we're reminded he's going to end the world. Now, if you haven't been paying attention, at some point Hellboy's going to end the world, but they need to end the friggin' movie if they're going to keep going over this. And it's ridiculous how often this movie gets tied in talking about the mythos that the world is going to end. What's truly bizarre also is the need for the characters to swear. We've jumped to an R rating for no reason, with profanity from Professor Broom of all people, who's meant to be a loving father figure originally, but now he swears at a drop of a hat. If he's meant to be the person who's raised Hellboy to be a Catholic, I don't think he's going to be dropping swear bombs every few minutes. And that's another thing. The movie should be closer to the comics, and one of the most important things about Hellboy is his Catholicism. It's one of the things that sets him apart from many other superheroes. Religion's never been that dominant. I'm not saying I'm expecting the movie to convert people to Catholicism or any of the above. I'm just expecting to understand the heart and soul of the character. But the movie is vacant. It forgets that part of him. It's literally at one key scene hanging off his hand in the middle of a church where he's confronted, and we never touch upon that dimension of Hellboy. It's absent of fate. It's absent of character. And because of that very big problem, Hellboy as a character fails in his own movie, and despite David Arbor struggling to express under layers of makeup which don't actually provide any expression at all, Arbor can only deliver a fairly average performance in a substandard movie. So the funny thing about it is Arbor becomes the best part of the movie. Mila Jovovich plays a sort of Morgan Le Fay, woman in red, bringing about the end of the world. She's actually doing her best, but her lines are so stilted and painful. And that's another problem. If you're going to do a franchise and kick us off with a memorable villain, don't make it sound like if they're waffling from a textbook, and that happens in the movie. The action sequences are well choreographed. Problem is, they look like crap, because on a $50 million budget, they try to do big, expensive moves that don't fit very well. The giant sequence? Hellboy taking on giants would look much better if they realized they're on a tight budget. It looks really like a first-year CGI student took a crack at it when he's fighting the giants, and it's painful because you can tell this would have been a far more cooler with a bigger budget. But hey, you don't have it. $50 million, what can you do? Music, not too good either. Guess what? Every 5 minutes, they're playing a hard rock song at inappropriate times. The worst thing about Hellboy, though, is its failure potential. The BPRD live in a world of monsters and gods, huge end-of-the-world proclamations, characters who are waiting to leap out and give us their stories, but we'll never get it. Hellboy dies before it gets out the front door because it gets bogged down trying to be too cool for school and emo hardcore action, when the character really is a person who enjoys life, smokes cigars, and says stuff you to evil. In the end, we deserve better. But until this time, we can declare Hellboy dead on arrival.